Okay, we're about to dive into one of the most famous poems in the world. I mean, you've probably quoted it, or at least heard it a dozen times. But what if I told you that pretty much everyone, maybe even you, has been getting the meaning completely wrong?
You know these lines. Come on, they're everywhere. They're practically the official motto for every graduation speech, every inspirational poster. It's become this powerful anthem for being a rugged individualist, for being brave and unique.
But what if that whole idea of trailblazing and nonconformity is based on a huge misunderstanding? What if Robert Frost was actually getting at something way more subtle, something trickier, and maybe a little more human?
So, let's start with what we think we know. For decades, The Road Not Taken has been held up as this amazing ode to forging your own path. You know, having the guts to step away from the crowd and do your own thing.
I mean, this is the version we all learned in school, right? Be a rebel. Don't follow the herd. Take the hard road, because that's what's going to make you who you are. And honestly, it's a fantastic, super empowering message.
It's a great message, but the thing is, it's just not what the poem actually says. In fact, this whole popular myth completely falls apart the second you actually, read the words on the page.
So let's do a little literary detective work together. We're going to put the poem under a microscope and see what clues Frost really left for us. Because this is where it gets really interesting. So on one side, you have the myth, and on the other, you have the poem's reality. The myth tells us there was this clear, obvious choice between an easy path and a hard one. But the poem? It says the other path was just as fair. The myth says he bravely chose the harder, less traveled route. But the poem says they had warned them really about the same. In fact, that morning, neither path had been walked on yet. There was no road less traveled. This line right here, this is the smoking gun. Frost straight up tells us the two paths were basically identical. Any difference between them was tiny, almost imaginary. He's literally pulling the rug out from under the whole idea of some big, heroic choice.
So let's look at what the speaker actually does. He stands there for a long time, hesitating. He sees two roads that are, for all intents and purposes, the same. He kind of just picks one. He tells himself, oh, I'll come back and try the other one someday, even though deep down he knows he probably never will. This isn't some bold trailblazer. This is just a person, like any of us, being indecisive and making a choice that's pretty much random.
Okay, so if the poem isn't about making a brave choice, what in the world is it about? Well, the real theme is much deeper and way more psychological. It's not about the choice we make, but about the story we tell ourselves after we've made it.
And that is the genius of this poem. Robert Frost isn't writing about individualism. He's writing about self-justification. He's writing about the way we build these narratives to make our often random lives feel like they had a grand, deliberate plan all along. This timeline lays it all out. In the moment, standing in the woods, the choice is pretty insignificant because the paths are the same. But the speaker is already thinking about the future, about the story he's going to tell ages and ages hence. And in that future story he's spinning, he's going to pretend his choice was this big, meaningful decision that made all the difference.
This line is the key that unlocks the whole thing. The famous last part of the poem isn't what's happening now, it's a prediction. He's basically saying, years from now, here's the cool story I'm going to tell about this moment to make myself sound important.
And what about that sigh? We always read it as a sigh of satisfaction, like, I made the right choice. But Frost leaves it totally open. Is it a sigh of regret for the life he could have had? A wistful sigh? Or is it just the tired sigh of someone who knows they're kind of fibbing to make sense of it all?
All right, let's bring this all home. If the path itself wasn't really different, then what is the difference that his choice made? This is the real takeaway of the entire poem. The difference is the story. The simple act of choosing any path sets your life on a certain course. It's the story you tell yourself later, the one where you frame that choice as brave and special. That's what gives a random decision its meaning and its weight.
Psychologists actually have a name for this. It's called narrative identity. It's that ongoing internal story we all write about ourselves to make our lives feel coherent and purposeful. We edit our memories, we highlight certain turning points, and we conveniently forget all the times we were just guessing, just like Frost's speaker plans to do.
And that is the universal truth that Frost tapped into so brilliantly. He knew that we are all natural-born storytellers when it comes to our own lives. We look back at those forks in the road, the job we took, the person we ended up with, and we paint this grand narrative over it. We tell ourselves we took the road less traveled, even if at the time it was just another road.
So the next time you're looking back on a big life decision, just ask yourself, was the choice really that dramatic and clear-cut at the time? Or have you, just like the speaker in the poem, been telling a pretty good story? A story that has made all the difference.